Hey man, I'm Jusko from ProblemMoney.com, and in this video we are going to look at the best gas credit cards. Before we do, I'm going to ask you to please subscribe to this YouTube channel if you have not already, and if you have already, I thank you for doing so. So if gas prices have you down, if you're sad, angry, depressed, all of the above, in this video we are going to look at credit cards that are going to give you at least a 3% rebate on your gas purchases, up to 5% depending on the card. Now if you are zeroing in on those gas rebates, there are a number of cards on the market where you could get 5% or 4% on your gas purchases. Pretty much all of them have something that I'm hedging on because of the fact that it might be only part of the year, or it might be that you have to be a member of a certain organization, or it might be that the card is only available to a certain part of the country. So what I'm going to do is start with two cards that are available nationally that give you 3% on gas and have a lot of other things going on with them, so you could be assured of getting at least 3%, and then you can look at those other cards and see if those are ones that make more sense for your particular situation. The two cards I'm thinking of are, first off, the Blue Cash Everyday from American Express, no annual fee, 3% at US gas stations on up to $6,000 per year on gas. Then 1% beyond that, you would get 3% on US supermarket purchases on up to $6,000 per year of those purchases, 3% on online purchases on up to $6,000 per year of those, and then 1% everywhere else. That up to $6,000 per year is exclusive to each one of those. It's not in all of those combined. So your 3% on gas would be at up to $6,000 per year of gas specifically, the US supermarket specifically, the online purchases specifically. And then the other card that I am thinking of is the Wells Fargo Autograph Visa, which just came out as I'm making this video. No annual fee. You're going to get 3% or 3 points per dollar on your gas purchases, and then 3% in a bunch of other categories: travel, transit, streaming services, restaurants, cell phone bills, 1% on everything else that doesn't fall into those categories. So both of those really good cards that are going to give you 3% on gas, but give you a whole lot of other stuff too. Now let's look at those cards that could get you 5% on gas, and I'll tell you why I hedged on them a little bit as we go along. First off is the Citi Custom Cash, a card that gives you 5% cash back in the purchasing category where you spend the most each billing cycle on up to $500 of purchases in whatever that highest category is. So gas is one of the categories. So if you had this card and you spent the most on gas each month, well then you would get 5% on those gas purchases. Everything else that you put on the card would get 1%. So this is not exclusively a gas card. It could be other places where you could get the 5% too, including restaurants, travel, and a bunch of other categories. But if you want to zero in on gas for this card, you could get it, use it for your gas purchases, and get 5% on them. Next on the hunt for 5% on gas, we're going to lump together the Chase Freedom Flex and the Discover It card. Both of these cards have 5% rotating categories that change each calendar quarter throughout the year. Gas is almost always going to be one of those categories on both of these cards at some point during the year. So not the whole year, but at least for some chunk of the year, you can usually get 5% on your gas purchases with both of these cards. So if you held them both this year, for example, half the year, you would have had 5% on gas available to you. But each calendar quarter, they're going to change. So you have to keep on top of it so you know what the categories are. And then, you know, you're going to have gas in some category or some calendar quarters, other calendar quarters. It's not going to be gas, but it might be other things that you find useful as well. Both of those, no annual fee. If you're a Sam's Club member, you'll get 5% back on your gas purchases and up to $6,000 per year in gas purchases. You can get up to 5% back at Sam's Club in general, depending on your level of membership with Sam's Club. 3% at restaurants, 1% everywhere else. If you qualify as a member of USAA, there is the USAA Cashback Rewards Plus card that gives you 5% back on gas purchases and military base purchases. You should note, though, that there is a cap of $3,000 on those purchases combined where you would get the 5%. So beyond $3,000 of spending in gas and military base purchases, you're only going to get 1% on those purchases. So that's kind of a low cap. I wish it was a little bit higher. You'll also get 2% on grocery store purchases. That also has a cap of $3,000 per year, which is a little bit low, and then you're going to get 1% back on everything else. So if you're not a big spender, this one could be good if you qualify as a USAA member. Otherwise, The Abound Credit Union Platinum Visa offers 5% back on gas purchases. It also has a 5% rotating calendar like the cards I just talked about, where you could get 5% back on different purchases throughout the year, and then you get 1% back on everything else. Now, Abound Credit Union might not be something you are familiar with. It is a Kentucky credit union that you would think, well, I don't qualify necessarily for that. However, they do have a back door where pretty much anyone can become a member. You do a small contribution to a military or veterans organization, and then that allows you to become a member of Abound Credit Union. So you do still have to do a little bit to get in, but once you do, you get a really good gas credit card. So those are your 5% opportunities. Now let's take it down a notch to 4% on gas purchases, starting with the Costco Anywhere Visa. You must be a member of Costco in order to get it. Otherwise, it has no annual fee. It gets you 4% back on gas on up to $7,000 per year in gas purchases. You also have 3% on restaurant purchases and on travel purchases, 2% at Costco, 1% everywhere else. If you are in an area where PNC Bank is available to you, there is the PNC Bank Cash Rewards Visa that has no annual fee, gets you 4% back on gas purchases, 3% on dining, 2% on groceries, 1% everywhere else. Now you should note here that there is an $8,000 cap on all of those categories combined that are beyond 1%. So after you've spent $8,000 in any combination of gas, restaurants, groceries beyond that $8,000, you would get 1% back on all of the purchases that you make with the card. It's a pretty high cap, but if you're a high spender, it's definitely something to be aware of. If you're a Verizon customer, the Verizon Visa is a strong credit card with no annual fee and 4% in rewards on gas purchases, 4% on grocery purchases, 3% at restaurants, 2% on Verizon purchases, 1% everywhere else. Now, the way you actually use your rewards is mostly, or at least the best way to use them, is toward Verizon purchases, whether that be paying for part of your bill with the rewards you've earned or buying new phones through Verizon. It's essentially the same thing. So the best way to redeem those rewards is going to be for Verizon purchases on your bill. So if you're not a Verizon customer, there's not a whole lot of upside here. The US Bank Altitude Connect gives you 4 points per dollar or 4% cash back on gas purchases, as well as electric vehicle charging. You're getting 2% categories, and then anything that falls outside of that is 1%. It's got a nice bonus on it. The only kind of catch with this card is, while it has no annual fee in the first year, it then has a $95 annual fee that kicks in after that. So unless you're putting a lot of charges on this card after the really nice first year, it's a little maybe harder to justify. Now this might be a long shot, but if you are a fan of the New Orleans Pelicans or you're willing to become one to get 4% back on your gas purchases, you could get the New Orleans Pelicans credit card that gives you 4 points per dollar on those gas purchases, 4 points per dollar at restaurants and bars as well, and then it has some other interesting stuff going on as well. If you don't care about the Pelicans and you don't want to carry their credit card around, well then skip this one. Now with all those cards I just talked about, there's a good chance you could find satisfaction, but I am going to give you a handful of other cards to consider as well that give you 3% on gas, but have interesting things going on beyond the gas purchases, and maybe that would sway you depending on your spending patterns. The first of those, the Blue Cash Preferred card from American Express, where I talked about the Blue Cash every day. That was a no annual fee card. This one has a $95 annual fee. But before you turn your nose up, you're getting 3% on gas purchases on this card, but you're also getting 6% back at US supermarkets on up to $6,000 per year of purchases at US supermarkets. You're getting 6% back on streaming services, 3% back on transit, 1% back everywhere else. You've got a nice bonus opportunity. So if you're someone that spends a lot on groceries as well as wanting to get something nice on your gas purchases, well then this is a card that you might consider. If you're going to get anywhere near that $6,000 per year cap in US supermarket purchases per year, well then the Blue Cash Preferred potentially could be a better option than the Blue Cash Everyday, or you might even want both. Now the City Premier card is an interesting package. 3% on gas, 3% at supermarkets, 3% on dining, 3% back on air and hotel travel purchases, 1% everywhere else. As I make this video, huge bonus, 80,000 points, which you could think of as $800 cash back if you spend $4,000 with the card in the first 3 months of having it. Now, the only potential catch here is that this card has a $95 annual fee, but you put $95 $1,000 up against $800, and you could see that maybe the math works for you. You also have a yearly potential credit of $100 if you book a hotel through Citi's Thank You Travel portal of at least $500 in your hotel stay, then $100 of that would come back to you as a credit, which is more than your annual fee. Now, of course, you want to book your travel through Citi in order to get that, so you have to decide for yourself whether you feel like that's a good deal or not. But good 3% categories, huge bonus, and the potential to essentially cover that annual fee. The Navy Federal Credit Union More Rewards American Express card, no annual fee, 3% on gas, 3% on dining, 3% on groceries, 1% back on everything else. It has no foreign transaction fees. A very nice card, but you do have to qualify as a Navy Federal Credit Union member in order to get the card, which means you have to be military or have some sort of connection to military in order to get a membership. If you are banking out west, the Bank of the West cashback credit card has no annual fee and gives you 3% on gas, 3% at restaurants, 3% on your grocery purchases, 1% everywhere else. Pretty nice little card. And there are other cards on the market where you could get 3% or more in rebates on your gas purchases. I think the other ones out there are a cut below the ones that I've just talked about, but I will give you a list of 6 more that you might look at. Maybe you'll have a different opinion than me on their value. They are the Pentagon Federal Credit Union, or PenFed Platinum Rewards Visa. You've got the UMB Simply Rewards credit card, the Venmo Visa, the Bank of America Customized Cash Card, the Shop Your Way MasterCard, and the BP Visa. So that's about 20 cards. They're giving you either 3, 4, or 5% back on your gas purchases. If none of those work for you, I don't know what to tell you. Maybe I missed something. Maybe you know of another card that is doing even better in the gas category. If so, I'd love to hear about it in the comments section below, or if you want to talk about something else, put that down there too. Otherwise, I thank you for watching, and as always, please go to proudmoney.com, where we do credit card reviews, we talk personal finance, we talk deals, and all sorts of other fun stuff too. If you're not going to leave a comment, or you're not going to go to the website for some reason, watch this video.